I've been making YouTube videos, and my next one is
Awesome. Great.
is kind of about swing, and
Hmm.
I'm writing my plan for right now, and it's so hard to think about the way that I want to even talk about it because it is so complicated. Like when
Sure.
I was in school, I mean, you look at a chart and it's like it either says straight eighth notes or swung eighth notes, and like you kind of think of it in that binary way, where like this is a swing song, this is a straight song, or there'll even be a song that goes from swing to straight, and you kind of think of it like that's it. But
Yeah.
then you listen to more and more music, and like you said, I mean, there's like Brazilian feel, there's Afro-Cuban feel, you
Yeah.
know, there's so many different kinds of feels that are some version of swing, but they aren't the same.
Yeah. I
Like,
think the Speak No Evil is probably like the best example I could think of like even in the jazz context where he's doing the three swing and it's like that's not the everything, even on the 6/8
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you can move notes around, and like you said, like Dilla, that
Mhm.
thing is like because when I think of swing, I generally think of like we're moving into upbeats, but
Yeah.
then you get into something like that, and they're moving downbeats too.
Hmm.
So like and sometimes it's about one person being on one part of the beat and someone else being on a different part of the beat.
Yeah.
And but in there, you can't even really define exactly what the feel is because it's different depending on what instrument you are. So it's like
Yeah.
pretty hard to write down, and I
Yeah.
guess that's part of why we don't try. We're just like, swing feel, straight eighths or whatever. But
Sure.
yeah, I do. I wish there was a little more discussion of that in school. I remember even in school, I started to notice that because I was getting pretty obsessed with transcribing solos and trying to match the feel exactly,
Mm.
get every nuance of it. And I started to realize that like there's solos where like it's swing, but they're actually playing straight, but just behind the beat. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I
not
know.
really swung, but it's a different kind of swung. And then maybe the next phrase will be just actually swing eighth notes, and then the next one's back to the straight behind the beat thing. So it's like
Yeah.
all these different kinds of feels that people can do. Um, I mean, and that was even in college, and then after college, I still didn't know how to play funk guitar
Mm.
with anything but a straight eighth note or straight 16th note feel, and I had to like basically teach myself how to play with any kind of swing feel in funk music.
Yeah. 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 And
So
I feel like it even talking, years of jazz going to years of funk, it's like there was like kind of a straight 16th and there was like a little bit of a swung 16th and then it was like straight eighth notes, but you could swing the 16th still, you know. And then
yeah,
like talk about the meters. I mean, nobody feels like them. It's like it's sure you could play Sissy Strut, but like can you actually play it like how the meters play it with the feel?
right,
Like
exactly, yeah,
my that's like years of studying its own thing and it has
totally,
nothing to do with jazz, but like it's
yeah,
so
totally.
I,
There's a swing there. Yeah, or like, Superstition, like how many times have I played Superstition in a cover band and the drummer like doesn't really like no one really captures that vibe. Like the very, first 3 seconds of that song has a super interesting feel to it that like
I
most people
well,
are
and
either ignoring or just not totally getting.
it's Stevie playing every damn instrument.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
like he knows how he wants that to feel, so he did it himself,
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Exactly.
I find myself doing that a lot, especially on recordings where it's like, that's kind of why I play every instrument. It wasn't because of like I couldn't really find people to play instruments. It was like, well, I have this really specific thing that I hear in my head.
Yeah.
To learn
Totally.
how to play the drums. I might as well learn how to play the bass. I might as well learn how to sing. And then talk about Stevie. It's like not only talking, going back to the notation thing of like writing with feel, he like literally changes the pitch of like every third and seventh he ever plays or sings. It's like his
Yeah.
degrees are a little sharp and his so are his flat sevens. And
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
it's like that's another thing you can't I mean how you Stevie is 17 cents flat on this E flat.
Right.
Like
You
that's
can't
so stupid, you know?
notate it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you can't deny it. It's like it is a real thing that's happening. It's not like an accident. It's like a real thing that could be, you could try to figure out in some way. It's just so nuanced that you can't write it down. You kind of just have to like absorb it into your being by listening and
Sure.
singing along. a million times.
Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, I think, man, the singing thing, I don't know who I picked that up from. Off the top of my head, I remember Brad Kang and Horace Bray telling me that a lot when I was like studying sophomore year of college or something. Just like you should spend like a year singing like everything that you play.
Hmm.
And I don't know. At that time, I was just trying to take in everything and just do whatever and study with whoever and just say yes. Basically, I'll do it. I'll learn. And I just did it, and I really don't regret it because in general with the transcribing thing, like I know Bob Reynolds has that think it, say it, play it. For me, it's think it, sing it, play it. It's like if you could sing it, you could put it on your instrument,
Yeah,
uh, and
yeah,
it's because you like hear you're I'm not playing this whatever I'm singing. Like there's this disconnect, and that's like really obvious thing, and not to mention the tuning, but then the feel like you could actually get the out of tune notes. You could get the whatever the articulations of the rhythm with your voice, and you get like, man, I think that's a strong tool though. Like if you can, to me, what I really appreciated in that skill is now, say I'm on a walk or something, and an idea comes into my head, I can just sing it, and then I can go back to the guitar and I can play it, and it's like, oh
hmm
shit. I mean, that's like hearing the music that's in your own head, and I don't know if there's a bigger goal than that.
totally. Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's definitely the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's I don't regret whoever told me that. So I feel like, this singing it thing. I remember Fred Hamilton telling me that too, where
Yeah.
I learned no blues, and he was like, "You got to sing it first," and that was like it was like in an email too, like a crazy long email. I should try to look for that. I bet I still have it somewhere.
Huh. Yeah, it's funny because you don't, I mean, yeah, you go into that situation thinking I play guitar, I don't sing, and now it's sort of so obvious, like, well, of course you have to be able to sing it if you can, otherwise you don't know if you're actually hearing it. And that's actually another thing I remember I think I was a freshman
Mm-hmm.
when, uh, in college when, um, uh, a friend of mine, Clay Pritchard, the saxophone player,
Love
said,
him.
said something along the lines of like, I've been hearing this in my head. Like I think he was saying he's been hearing a lot of fusion. Like as
Mm-hmm.
far as like when he went to solo, he was hearing a lot of like fusion ideas.
Oh, cool.
And like just like the actual grammar of what he said made no sense to me. Like I was like, you mean you've been listening to fusion? What do you mean you've been hearing it?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
sure.
a passive, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't really, and now we take it for granted, but I think it is, I mean, that was, I was like 19 years old. I've been playing jazz for some number of years and studying with guitar teachers since I was like 13. But
Mm-hmm.
I still had that concept had actually never occurred to me that like the goal is to hear something in your head and then put it on the instrument.
Sure.
You're just always like, how do I play licks? Like, what do I play
Yeah.
over this to make this sound cool?
Yeah, especially if you're a guitar player. So guilty
Yeah,
of that. There's so
yeah,
many things. But I mean, I was reading your Facebook stuff, and I mean, it's kind of silly now because it's like, dude, so much of this shit isn't even about playing the guitar. I mean, talk about booking gigs, talk
yeah.
about video editing. That
Mhm.
shit sucks. you know, uh, like it really has nothing to do with like writing tunes or learning your arpeggios or transcribing the solo. It's like that's like third or fourth on my list these days, and it's kind of sad. I wish it wasn't, but it's like so many
Yeah,
to
I
work on.
yeah, it's true. I do. I mean, part of me wishes that we lived in a world where we could just play music and there were people who are better qualified to promote and book and, produce things and all of that. But then another part of me, like, because I have always enjoyed doing a variety of things. I mean, part
Same.
of me really enjoys it, and maybe it's just out of necessity because if I have to do something, I'm gonna learn how to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like, at this point, I really enjoy editing video, but it definitely came about because of necessity. Like
Same.
early on, like with Fork, it was like, all right, we gotta make a promotional video. Like either we're gonna pay $50, $100 every time we need a promo video, which is like every week, every other week.
Yeah, and that's a lot, dude.
That's yeah. I mean, that's money that you literally don't have. Like that. I mean, more than people even realize, bands just don't make money.
Yeah.
If any, you're glad if you pay yourself off for the things you've already invested into it. That's you're lucky at that point. So you don't have a pile of money. You don't have a budget. So
Mm.
basically, you're like, I guess we're gonna do this, and either it's gonna suck or I'm gonna learn how to do it a little bit better than the worst way possible. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
over time, gradually getting into it, trying to make better and better things. Now I feel like it's a skill I actually have.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have had it, 20 years ago if the industry was not destroyed by streaming as it is right now, or so focused on social media.
Did you see that Spotify added a donate button now?
Really?
Like, it just happened yesterday.
Wow.
It's on every artist page, I believe. And it's just like, here, donate, go straight to the artist. I think they still take the money for the streaming, but if you want to contribute now, you can, which is like fucking unreal. I mean, for me, I didn't even go on
Yeah.
Spotify. I was like, fuck this. This is dumb, you know?
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship because, um, I mean, there's no denying that it's so convenient, and there's like it's like the early internet ethos of like everything should be available and free. That's
Yeah,
awesome, but how do you fund that? So, you know, unfortunately, what's happened with Spotify is what's happened with a lot of things, where the window of opportunity to make it something really cool and helpful for the community has gone.
yeah,
And what they've decided to do is make it helpful for themselves and their investors and only think of the bottom line. It's pretty much the same concept as like corporations and like,
yeah,
you know, what ends up happening is that you're destroying the resource itself. And they don't think of it in the long term, which they should, because it's good for everyone for the resource to be replenished. But they're not thinking of it that way. They're just looking at their bottom line. So they're paying out as little as they possibly can and paying themselves as much as they possibly can. So, but all that being said, I like the idea of having a library of every single piece of music in the world, and I use it a lot because if I want to hear some music, I at this point there isn't another option really. Music stores are basically gone, and even if I went to a music store, what am I going to buy a CD? Like I literally don't have a way to play a CD. So my other option is to buy it on iTunes, which I started doing. I started trying to be like, okay, if I like an artist enough to listen to them on Spotify more than once or whatever,
yeah,
I'm gonna go buy their album on iTunes. So I've been doing that. But the problem with iTunes is that they figured out what Spotify is doing and they're transitioning to Apple Music, which
yeah.
basically is their version of Spotify. So
Terrible. I mean, I don't.
terrible.
That's I don't like those kind of things. That's personally for me. I only release my music on Bandcamp, and they
Yeah,
only take 30%, and that's kind
Bandcamp, yeah,
of a power play.
exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, and I don't really know if that's like the right thing to do. I don't know if I should. In general, I've been having a lot of trouble actually uploading my music to Spotify and shit like that. DistroKid has been giving me like a world of trouble.
Really?
Yeah, it's really stupid. It's like I created an account and then I lost my credit card like an idiot, like I don't know, like 2 years ago or something, a long time ago. And I found the credit card like recently, which is insane because I thought I totally lost it, but it has since been canceled. And it's the account or the card that's on that account, it just won't link up anymore. And they keep like sending me this code to this email that doesn't exist anymore because I shut it down, and it's just like this is ridiculous. It's like I have no access to the DistroKid thing, and they don't have a support number. Same with Spotify. It's just like robots that email back and forth.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, am I just supposed to change my name to like Meat and Potatoes Orchestra or like Meat and Potatoes Music or something? Because I only have one album on there too at that, so it's like really not the end of the world. Or maybe just go M&P or something. But then again, I'd have to like take the time to like specify like, hey, if you're on Spotify or whatever, make sure you type in Meat and Potatoes Orchestra, which is just seems
Right.
so silly. And I just don't know why the fuck I can't talk to somebody about just changing my account information so I can just upload my music. But
Yeah. So you said you only release it on Bandcamp, but
yeah,
you do it with DistroKid?
no, no,
Oh, I see what you're saying, 'cause you were having trouble. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I feel like
I only
Bandcamp is the
Bandcamp.
one. Yeah, I think Bandcamp is the one example of a company that's doing it right because like you said, I mean they take 30%, which is what iTunes used to take.
Yeah,
And the funny thing is when you release an app on Apple's store,
mm,
they take
I love your app, by
30%.
the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they take, what'd
Or
you say?
40.
40?
Yeah, 40%. That's what you said.
No, they take 30%,
Oh, okay,
I think. I think it's basically that. It's pretty much the same ratio.
sure.
So they're treating people that make apps the way that they, used to treat musicians.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, it feels pretty fair. It's like, yeah, you're distributing this, you're allowing this to even exist. So like 30% seems cool. I get 70% for all the work that I've done and the,
yeah,
the intellectual property that it is. And yet, the music thing, that's how it was for music for like a very short window of time after iTunes came about and before Spotify came about. That was the value that we attributed to making music. That was sustainable. Like
Yeah,
if we were making music in that world and there was no such thing as streaming, we could probably pay our rent every month with no problem without even having to think about it, because we've put this stuff out into the world and people like it enough in the market of ideas. People accept it. They want to listen to it.
yeah,
And we could be making some sales and getting 70% of those sales. That would be fine. But it's just interesting to me that Apple has decided that the apps are still worth this much. But music, because basically, like, you can never go back. Like, once something
yeah.
is free, you can never unfree it.
True.
So, like, now that we've decided that music is free, then that's it. Like, the musicians are never going to get paid again. So,
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this only post COVID though can I say this that I've made more money like ever off of like downloads, people downloading my music, in the last month or 2 months or whatever. I think I'm on week 7 now, but uh dude, that's awesome. Like I'm so stoked that I've actually made like $400 off of music.
and that's from Bandcamp.
Yeah, and that's just from and dude, don't get me wrong, like I'm like pretty much a slut on Facebook Messenger where I'm just going up like hitting people like, "Hey, check out this album. Please download it for $1 or I think it's $4 now." But that kind of goes because of that where I was giving everything away for free because I was like, you can already just do that on Spotify or whatever. It'd be the same thing. And then if you want to support, just pay what you want. And that made sense to me because I was playing gigs that don't exist anymore, and that was paying me rent. And it's like, oh, well, I don't really care because I'm playing for people and people are buying shirts or whatever, and I feel satisfied. And people are putting dollars in the tip jar, and that kind of felt like an even exchange, I guess. But then now that's not happening. I put my music for sale. March 14th, I think was the day I did it, and since then I've made like $400, which is crazy. It's like
Yeah,
just
that's
going
awesome.
to people being like, "Hey, by the way, did you know you could download this, for $4?" And everyone's like, "Oh shit, no way!" And that seems kind of crazy, but I think for what you're saying though is the reason why is because everyone's realized how fucked everything is, and that the only way that you were making money was off of gigs, and now you're not doing that. So
Right.
okay, I'll buy your music, and it's like crazy that it took something like this to like get that into someone's head where it's like, oh sure, I can spare $4,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the $4 isn't even enough. It's like, dude, I probably spent like 40 hours on each one of those songs, and it's like,
Right. Right. Well, not to mention the number of hours spent promoting it.
sure, yeah, I'm actually really bad about that. I don't really do that very much. I was talking to I don't know how to say his last name, Chris Buno, Buono.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
he
yeah, awesome guitar player.
seriously, but he's saying he has like 3 albums right now that he's sitting on, and not to talk shit, but it's just that was a crazy thing to me to think of because I don't really promote anything I do. Only now I should because I have the time, but it was like when I was playing 5 to 8 gigs a week or whatever, it was like, oh, I gotta just release this song and then I'll just talk about it on the gig or whatever. And I don't know, I just didn't really have time. But the fact that he wasn't releasing things instantaneously was like pretty mind blowing to me. I thought that everyone did that now because it was just like, oh, all you have to do is hit upload,
Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of do both things. I mean, I have like a few solo songs that I've been sitting on forever because I'm pretty
Really?
much waiting to finish an album's worth which I haven't done. But then in the context of like bands, whether it's folk or like I have a duet, acoustic guitar duet with this guy Matt Reed in Austin.
I love that shit too.
I mean, when we record stuff, we just make a plan, we record it, make the art, put it out,
Yeah.
get it done. I don't know. I think that's for me. It's easier if it's in a band situation because I basically like I feel like I'm gonna let everyone down if I don't accomplish something. Whereas
Yeah.
if it's just myself, it's easier for me to procrastinate and do other things first because I don't have anyone else who's pushing me to do it. So for me personally, I mean, I sort of understand that in the terms of like putting
Yeah.
out a solo project. It's just the easiest thing to kind of delay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Like with the band, it's just people don't realize that you just lose money. that was kind of why I started playing solo too, because I like, especially coming from North Texas, I feel like I didn't really understand like what it was like to be in the real world and not go to music school, I guess. Or it was like, oh, I don't have like, 100 people at my disposal that I could just call for this gig, and then like probably 10 of them will show up or something, and it would
Right, right.
be like a snarky thing where it's like I could play with a bunch of people, and like you get to play with people who are in the 1 o'clock and shit like that, who are just like phenomenal players, and then you like go out wherever you leave your little bubble, and I came to Colorado and I was like, oh man, I don't know anybody here,
Right. Yeah,
and uh, so I was like playing a lot of trio gigs and stuff like that, and then then I was like eventually playing solo because I was and it's just I feel like it was less about the money back then too. It was like everyone was pretty content and aware that like, oh, if I play at Greenhouse, I don't get paid, or something like
right.
that. Like it's like there's
Yeah,
these places and standards and oh, okay, it's pretty normal that we're gonna get $100 to play at Tom's Daiquiris or something. Like everyone knew that was just more fun to come play for $10 than whatever. But now in the real world, when everyone's an adult and has bills and shit, it's like I
yeah,
need $100 just to play or whatever, and that's respect, But it's like, okay, well then that lowers my money a lot for
yeah.
the 10 to 100 or whatever. It's like, okay, well shit. But now I'm like, doing a lot of things solo, and I don't regret that. It's actually like been the only way I've been able to pay my rent in comparison to where. But now when I kind of went that way where I was like, okay, I'm playing solo a lot. I miss playing with people, and and now entirely view the band as a loss. It's just like
Right.
I'm gonna eat 100% of this money, but it's gonna be because I want to, not because like I have to. Which was a different situation because I didn't feel comfortable playing by myself, like solo, like you're saying. That's like this whole mystical thing to me. I'm not sure why it seems like it has this things, but I guess maybe when you listen to shit like Joe Pass, meditations and stuff, you're just like shaking in your boots. You're like, how the hell could I ever sound like that just by myself or whoever, I don't know,
Right.
Jim Hall or whatever, but you're just like floored by the musicianship of these people, and the solo guitar thing is just so crazy, and you have to play the chords and the melody, and you got to keep time, and you got
Mhm.
to keep the form, and if you fuck up, it's all on you. There's no one to save your ass, and uh,
Right.
that's scary, dude. Like at least for me. When do you have loads of experience playing solo, or is this kind of like your first thing to come
I
out
don't
of the
I
world?
don't have a lot. I mean, I've done it here and there for whether it's for a background music gig or you know just for fun. But I mean, it is like it is an intimidating thing, and it is a different mentality because sometimes um, I'm so used to playing off of other people
Yeah,
that there have been times where I've been playing kind of solo background music, and it's like I don't know how to hear music in my head and then put it out there without some space to like not play
yeah,
and
yeah,
let
sure.
other people play so that I can hear something first. So if I feel like I have to fill up the whole time, it's a little bit it's just a different skill that I haven't done as much to learn how to just like kind of keep things going and still be musical and be following an inner thread.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely different. I'm doing it more now because I'm
sure.
home by
Yeah.
myself, so I'm like practicing and playing in different ways, and I've been thinking about trying to do some streaming and stuff like that. Um, and like I was saying, I mean, I've been practicing singing a bit, playing like I've got like a ukulele, and then I've also got this weird Mexican five-string instrument
What's
that
the name of that thing?
it's not a vihuela. It's like I think it's called like a jorope or a jarana or something. It was in like a pawn shop in Mexico, so it's probably a really crappy version of a real instrument, but it's tuned to a G major 9, which is
Right on.
super crazy.
Yeah. Huh. I like it.
Yeah, so I've been practicing like with those and singing along and just trying to like find, um, just find, whatever is enjoyable musically for me, which isn't always jazz. So, you know,
Yeah, word
that.
up. That's sick. Well, how do you go about learning new stringed instruments? Do you have a method or anything?
No, not really. I mean, basically the way that I'm doing this is just piecemeal. So my only other really experience with that is I played in a mariachi group in at UNT, and
Okay.
then for a couple years after that, and I played the guitarrón,
Hell
which
yeah.
is the bass instrument. and it's tuned. I mean, it's not that different from a guitar, which was fortunate, but it is fretless, and it's tuned a fourth lower, and you play. Except the high string is an octave lower than a normal high string, and you play
Okay.
um, you play in octaves all the time.
Hmm.
So the cool thing about that is that because you're always playing two notes at the same time, there's only really 12 notes on the instrument. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's like a whole you can play a lot of different notes, but practically speaking, if you're going to play an A, so the lowest and highest strings are an A, you
Okay.
just play the lowest and highest strings. That's your best A. There's no other good A really. So like
Probably there's like 9 of them or something.
yeah, there's other yeah, exactly. So like so in a way it was like coming from a jazz school mentality, it was like almost like therapy for me to learn this instrument because I was like, "Oh, thank God. If I see B flat on the page, this is exactly what I play. I don't play anything else. This is what I play."
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. But yeah, so I just like basically taught myself um in that way where I was like, I'm gonna just play a major scale up and down and say the names of the notes very slowly. Now I'm gonna play like this flat note, play a B flat major scale or whatever. So just slowly piecemeal like that. And like for this one, I was like, okay, so I know that's G major
Oh,
nine.
I love it.
I know it's so cool. So then I was like, I've been teaching myself how to play it pretty much by teaching myself songs. Like there's this Elliott Smith song
Cool.
called "Bled White" that the first chord is a G major seven. So like as soon as I heard this, I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna teach myself how to play Bled White on this instrument. So I just kind of had to like figure it out. Like, okay, how do I get to the four?
Yeah. Sure.
So I was like, just like an idiot, just like which note? What's a good note? Is this the third? This is the fifth. Okay, if I move that down, it does that. Just very slowly, basically,
Sure.
and then and
Yeah,
then
I guess
memorizing.
the first thing that came to mind was kind of taking your app approach to a different tuning.
I was thinking about that. I was like, I could try to reprogram it somehow to. The
Yeah.
problem is I
Just
didn't
just like
approach it that way
or
from the beginning.
something, just for your own funsies. You don't have to be
Oh yeah, totally.
crazy thing. One thing I've been using that's been pretty cool is called this thing called Neck Diagrams 2, and Noel told me about it, and it's been sick. And you can put in any tuning and make the little grids and charts. Basically, it's pretty similar to your app, but like not.
Is it
It
an
has
app or like a web thing or what?
it's a program, I guess it would be an app, but like I downloaded it to my computer,
Nice.
and it does cost money. It was like $50, but I'm Noel said he used it to write his book, so that's kind of my plan with it is
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
be able to put
Nice.
some guitar content out. And that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about is like during this time when you're talking about making videos and stuff. Have you thought about doing courses or like books or anything like that?
I thought about doing so. Mark Lethierry did this course. I can't remember what it's called, but
He has a few.
yeah. So I've thought about doing some of those. I mean, the problem with those is that I think you go somewhere and they film you doing it. So like at the moment
Really?
with quarantine time, that's not really a possibility. So
Huh.
I've thought about doing like something like Bob Reynolds does, where he has like a subscription thing if you subscribe,
I
you get access to a bunch of videos.
it, and it's badass. I
So
gotta
what?
say, I subscribe to that Bob's
Oh
thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so badass.
yeah.
I've gotten gigs off of his forum page before,
Nice. That's
and
awesome.
I don't know. I would say that's like a huge plus of it. I didn't do it for very long, where it was like, but maybe 6 months or a year or something. And it was probably 2 years ago, but it was like really worth it.
Yeah.
Just in the concept of that, like you would get a lesson with him, and then you would get like access to every lesson that he's ever taught for like 7 years. So it was like
Right.
I would just spend all day watching lessons, and then
Yeah.
and I was doing them on saxophone at the time, which was really fun. And like I was trying to just learn how to play a different instrument, but like
Yeah.
he was a great resource, and the amount of lessons that he had in the community thing was really badass. The challenges that he was putting out, I felt like it was really worth it because you had a lot of access. But at the same time, it was like I don't know if it would have been worth it if I was like in year 1 or 2. It was like cool because it was like the thing was huge,
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I feel like I'm interested in doing something like that, but I don't have, a ton of videos, so it's like I'd be starting from scratch. So I'm kind
yeah,
of starting off by just like trying to build a YouTube channel and
That seems
um,
fucking hard though, dude. Do you
it
think?
is hard. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I don't feel like there's a lot of return, and that's kind of why I've been thinking about doing the courses personally, where it's like signing this Matt Warnock guy. Do you know him?
No.
He's been all over the place. When I first met him, he was in Brazil, but now he lives in Arizona. But he's from Canada at that too.
Uh-huh.
But he's just sweet guy, really nice. I stumbled across his shit when I was auditioning for North Texas. I don't know, just some online PDF book. It was like 150 pages or something. It was like $5. It had like every drop two, drop three, like every inversion, every chord shape and scale shape and fingering like you could imagine. And it was like, here's how to play Lydian dominant. And those were the things I really needed at that time. So I was super thankful that it was like really cheap and approachable. And then
Hmm.
I found out he used the neck diagrams thing. But I mean, he was sitting there saying that he was doing all lessons and Skype lessons charging. He's charged like $80 an hour back in like 2012. I have no idea what he charges now,
Yeah.
but like he was like, you know, quit doing the Skype lessons because he started making more money off the courses, and he just only sells them for $5. And it's like that's crazy that you're able to make more money off of like I don't know what the math is, but it's a serious number drop that you're making more money off these courses than you are off of private lessons.
Yeah. Seriously, it's great.
Um, so I feel like there's some truth to it, but like you're saying, it's a lot of work, dude. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I mean, the sound slice thing is something I've considered doing. I did, and that seems like something you could do at home. You know,
So what is Sound Slice exactly? I've seen it around.
I'm I only know from watching it, and I've used it a few times, and I've bought Mark's thing off of it before, and it seems pretty easy. His exact thing was like transcriptions of his album, so he kind of just had like the videos of him playing, like
Mhm.
from that Spark record, and it was just like watching his hands, and you could slow it down, but it was like transcribed directly below it. But I think if you were to put just like a video of you playing, then you would just transcribe it under the thing, and you can put the. I think I'm not sure if once you put the sheet music in, if it makes it into tab and vice versa, that would be cool.
Mhm.
But in general, it has both options, which I think is nice because if you're not a guitar player, you could transcribe some other shit on the website.
Right.
And in general, it puts it in like grand staff and in bass clef, which is pretty cool. And it's just all through the program.
Nice.
But you can make like a profile, and then you can make your own videos. You can make your own courses. And I think he just takes some sort of percent. I don't think it's really like you have to go there or anything. But it seems like it gets marketed and based off of like the hits or whatever. If you were popular on the page, they're like, oh, so and so has a thing, and it seems like
Yeah.
they're kind of in hoots with whoever pickup jazz or whatever other people are aware of who they are. So I think like shit like True Fire or whoever, what's the other one, Jam Play, like getting into those, and I feel like kind of going back to what you said, it's probably possible to get around going there now because of everything, where it's like someone like you, it's like, yo, I'm Chris McQueen. I want to make a lesson or a thing. Can we facilitate how to do this and release it, from my home studio? I'm sure
Mhm.
it's possible. It's like really the only way right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yeah, I've thought about that. I should probably hit some of those things up. I mean, I've just been kind of focused on making like YouTube lesson series, and I mean, it is like at the moment it doesn't pay obviously anything, but
yeah,
you
yes,
know, but I do like doing it, and I feel like I guess what I like about YouTube is that because I've spent a lot of time making videos for Instagram, and
mm,
then they go away. So it's like
sure.
gone forever. No one ever goes back and looks at Instagram videos. So I think what I like about YouTube is that like when I watch YouTube, I there are people on there that you build a channel and you have like this history of things that you have on there, and you have people that have joined up with you, and they at some point when you get enough people, it can actually pay money, and then at that point, it's sort of like you've built something that can stand up. Whereas I just feel like Instagram and Facebook is just like it's just a time suck, and there's never a back end. Other than promoting other things, you can use it to promote other things, but it's not a
Well,
thing in itself.
and for me, it's about the algorithms, I guess. YouTube is less guilty, I think, of all of those. Where it's like if you put up a YouTube video, and even if you only have 5 subscribers, you get a notification if you follow that person that they put up a new.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
like the Facebook thing, it's like if you put a link in there, you're like way less likely to get seen by anything.
yeah, it's
And
so mysterious. Yeah,
And I mean, on that other concept, I would think, where I like YouTube, where it's like it actually makes me make these videos, and then I just, now have this video savviness to where I can like re-release all of my songs via music video. Because I
Hmm.
feel like, especially right now, where it's like I don't know if you might not be guilty of this, because I feel like people listen to your shit because you have like good music and people know who you are. But like me, it's like even though I have 5,000 friends on Facebook, it's like sometimes only two people like my status or something. It's like,
Oh no, same. Yeah, same. All the time.
yeah.
Because
So
I don't know. I feel like I'm being tested on by the algorithm sometimes. They're just like, let's see what happens if we don't promote this at all.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like, and then that kind of goes back to the other thing I was talking about with the Bandcamp thing, where I don't really promote most of my shit because I don't feel like it matters. So in that sense, I feel like it's easier that I can take this YouTube video and then upload it to Facebook, like into like as a status, not as like the video link. Like just taking the video and uploading it as a video on Facebook
Hmm.
gets like 500 to 1,000 views, regardless of what it is. And that's why I started doing these podcasts, because it was like I released one of them and it got like 500 views, and I was like, "What the fuck?" The last song I had 500 plays on took me like a year or something. It was like this
Yeah.
is it's
So
so silly.
you're uploading it as a Facebook video, even though it also exists on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. But I think anything helps in general is
Yeah.
kind of my favorite saying right now, where it's like, Facebook gets me additional views, YouTube gets me additional views. And I think like people like my dad are probably the best example. It's so silly, but I'm sure there's other people like this who don't use social media, but my dad uses YouTube.
Hmm.
And it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who aren't on the internet per se that just watch videos or click links or whatever. And it's like kind of hard to be like, yo, old man, check out this Facebook link because he doesn't have Facebook. So sometimes he can watch it, sometimes he can't.
Hmm.
So I use YouTube for that sense, where it's like there is some sense of some people who kind of live in the dark, I guess, but not a lot of them.
Yeah, well, or there. I mean, there's the opposite too, where people are only on Facebook and they never go to YouTube. So everyone's kind of got their different social circles that they hang out in. So
Yeah,
yeah, you kind of feel like you have to do something in all of them.
me, uh, Gabriel Santiago,
I don't think so.
same circle as you. He lives in Austin. Well, now he lives in Houston, but he used to be in Austin 2010 to 2018 or something. He was a teacher at UT for a while.
Cool.
Brazilian guitar player, seven string. Awesome dude, but he also has a podcast. I'll send it to you. It's really cool. It's very Latin based music centric kind of thing. And he's talking about releasing his podcast on Instagram TV. And I was like, holy shit, I didn't even think about going that far. I mean, that's like, a whole other level of like, because I think your videos are great, dude. But it's like for me, I don't really even feel like YouTube is like a bucket filler, because it's like fucking 10 people watch this or something.
Mhm.
And it's like, and like you're saying, unless you're like Adam Neely or something and have like a million subscribers, it's like,
Mhm.
not that it's not worth it, but it's like the attention just isn't as much. So I do think that anything kind of helps in that sense, where it's like whatever you release it on, I think is
I
probably
guess,
the best.
yeah, I guess Instagram TV could be cool in that I think it holds on to those videos
It does.
like basically forever, and you could go see them again. I just like it. Instagram just seems so like in the moment, like
I,
it's there and then gone again. Like I've spent like 30 hours making a very complicated promotional video for Fork, put on
yeah,
Instagram, and yeah, I mean it gets attention. It does the job it was meant to do. But then I'm like, what have I done with my time? It's gone forever. Whereas like with YouTube, I feel like my goal is to build. I mean, I don't know if it'll ever be Adam Neely, but my goal is to build enough of an audience to where those videos, because I'm approaching them like I'm going to make the highest quality I can, even when no one's watching. They will eventually be there for when the channel is bigger. So that's my goal. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know the best places to put things. I've also been thinking about Twitch,
I
which
haven't had much luck with that personally. That's all I could really say about it.
you've tried to do it.
Yeah, my instant thing I don't like about it is that you need like what's the word, like not a membership, but like you have to like sign in or register, like to create like a profile or something. Like you have to like make like a Facebook on Twitch or whatever. and you have to like have like an account, and like that's kind of like deters people away, like if you don't already have it, I think, to where it's like this extra step. You can't just watch it, like you can't just click on
Mm,
the link and go to Twitch. Like you have to be like, okay, I'm logged in now. And
true.
that's kind of a pain in the ass. And like that's why I like Facebook more
Hmm.
for like if you're going live, because you don't have to like click the link or whatever, but it is kind of handy. And then if you look at like actual Twitch, it does give you a lot of like stats and shit, but like when you know, again, unless you're like Ben Folds or something, or like some crazy motherfucker, it's like you get like 2 views on it, and sure it's there, but like me, I've only had like 1 or 2 views because it's hard to get traffic, like especially within Twitch itself. Like Twitch doesn't have like a really good like generators, like, oh, Chris Mcqueen's live right now. You know, it's kind of like you, however you're promoting it, and that's possible, I guess. To
Right. You have to use your other networks to promote it, and like you said, people have to sign up for it. I guess the thing that I like about it is that if someone likes you, so they subscribe to you, they just give you money. Like it's
Sure.
basically like an instant Patreon, where
Yeah,
like if someone they they appreciate what you're doing and they just subscribe to you, they give you money. Whereas all these other networks, you're basically relying on like, I mean, you have to get like if you got 500 subscribers on Twitch, then you're like basically paying your rent and your bills right there.
yeah,
Whereas if you get 500 subscribers on YouTube, you're not even don't even have enough to monetize yet. And
sure.
monetize
Yeah,
on that at that point it's basically going to give you like I don't know $10 a month or something. And in
yeah,
Facebook you get literally nothing at all. So I'm like,
yeah.
I
I
just
watched
want
some
to
scary
have it.
on that YouTube monetization the other day. Do you know Yannick Gwizdala?
No.
He's 5 string bass player. He was talking to Adam
Oh
Neely.
yeah, yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be in New York for a while, I think, and now he's LA. He plays with Bob. That would be like probably his most direct connection to you. And anyways, he's talking, just about the wayside of everything with the YouTube monetization. And Adam Neely says he only gets $3 for like every 10,000 views he gets, and it's like that's not that much, like, and that's like a lot of work. I mean, even though some of his videos have like 100K views or more, it's like he's probably getting, I don't know,
Three
300 bucks a video or
bucks
something.
for 10,000 views? That's low.
Yeah, and he was like, it's not that much. People think you can make this YouTube career, and he was like, I'm maybe making like $1,200 a month, and he has like 1 million subscribers, and it's like that's a lot. That's a good chunk of change. That's my rent. But like, also talk about the amount of time he's probably spending doing that shit, and
It's
he goes
insane.
on later to say that it's taken him 14 years to do that, and it's like,
Right.
maybe YouTube isn't the best. I don't know. That was kind of like how I came to it. Or it was like I was thinking the monetization would be more than like $3 for like 10,000 views. That's like nothing.
Yeah, well, I guess the other thing about that is, I mean, the monetization is a little bit of a drop in the bucket, but when you get that many viewers, then you can have a Patreon. Like he's got 1,000 patrons. Obviously I've been doing my research. He's got like 1,000 patrons, and I can't remember what the number of dollars a month or whatever, but at the very least it's $1,000 a month that he's getting directly from his fans.
That's
And
awesome.
in Patreon, I don't know what their percentage is, but I'm assuming it's fairly low.
Do you
Um,
have a Patreon?
no, no.
Are you subscribed to anyone's Patreon?
I am. I'm subscribed to a few YouTubers that I like a lot. Not even musicians. There's one called Knobs that is the only music one that I'm subscribed to.
Nas is amazing, dude.
Knobs is amazing. That was the first one. That's why I got a Patreon. It was just like I this is the content I wish existed more. So like I will give you money now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
and then
spent hours on fucking knobs, dude. I really want some Chase Bliss pedals. Do you have any of these?
no,
Want
I
them.
do too.
No,
They're really
please, dude.
expensive,
Like
but
the mood and the tonal recall and the new blooper one seemed like just fucking so
no.
cool. And like Jojo Mayer's like playing like stank break beats under these like glitchy ass fucking loops. Like, oh man.
Uh, yeah, yeah, that stuff is awesome. That's like a huge inspiration to me is that Knobs channel.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Musically too. It's like they do some sounds on there. And I'm like, man, what is this shit? Like I need this.
Cool.
And dude, that's interesting you say that though. I've always kind of been hesitant about the Patreon thing because I feel like no one does it. I feel like it's a thing, but if
Yeah,
other people gotta be doing it. That's all I gotta say.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's I don't feel like I would be ready to do it right now because the whole idea is like you. are making something. I guess so. So the situation I'm in is I'm kind of a perpetual sideman because and I do a lot of things, but I'm kind of the musically speaking, everything I do is part of a band
Hmm.
to some extent. So I'm not really making content on my own that someone would subscribe to, basically. So that's like making these YouTube videos is pretty much the beginning of me doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'd be ready to make a Patreon yet, but if I can do this for months and it seems like there's like a general uptick in that, then I mean, maybe if I had like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, then I'd be like, okay, I think it's time to maybe offer a Patreon.
Sure.
And I would also, because I'd also want to prove to myself that I am going to be able to continue to make content because I would not want people to give me money unless I was going to do something with it. So, but I think eventually that would be cool, and it's the most direct thing that I'm aware of. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's I've been thinking about it too. I guess my first devil's goddamn it, devil's advocate, I would say to you is that I know a lot of people in your position right now where there's a fuck ton of people who are not singer songwriters, who are only guitar players or instrumentalists, who are backing people to others' bands. And I really think that there could be like a monetization on that topic alone of like how to be a sideman, like and successful, especially right now. I think that's kind of like the whole thing where everyone's like, I'm fucked, because I'm not doing my own thing. Where it's like, well, here's how you record a guitar track for someone else's shit. Here's how you go through and whatever it is, but it's like, I mean,
hmm
I don't know if there's a lot of, still work that you're doing, but whatever it could be, you could go through that avenue too. It's like, well, here's what I would do for this thing that I'm doing right now. Cause I also feel like the only thing anyone can do right now is really document what they're doing. And that's it.
right,
Because everyone's at home.
right,
It's like, it's not like you're in this unique boat, before, or, now you're in this unique boat where you are Chris McQueen and you have things to offer and like a resume to show it. And you could be like, yo, here's what I would do. Because I've seen people who are way less big than you started Patreon recently and have like a pretty decent, like, seems like they have like 200, 300 people subscribing to it. And
So
it's
the
like
so
off
the
of
Patreon
like
would
a
be
Facebook
just
status. Say what?
what's so the Patreon would be basically just like like discussions, like videos of just talking or whatever. Like here's some ideas about what to do, and here's like
Sure. I would
okay,
be into that. I mean, if say you $5 every day you go on, you talk about a little bit of guitar, a little bit of theory, whatever you're working on. I don't think it has to be like anything fancy. Like I don't think maybe you get a track or something like from someone that wants you to record a solo or do something, and you just walk through. Here's
hmm
my plugins. Maybe here's the little compressor settings that I use. I would be interested in that or whatever. Here's my signal chain or maybe I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm just going to send it to them, and that could be its own lesson where don't
yeah,
waste a bunch of time if someone else is going to engineer it or something. You know what I mean? But whatever it is, I think you could talk about it and people would be interested because I see, I don't want to say chumps, but like people who are just not as big as you, like, and as good as you specifically, where just kind of are releasing content, myself included, where I feel like, especially now, everything I've released, whether it's been shirts or little PDFs or, even you could exclusively release those solo tunes to your Patreon or something to see how they do there or something like that, but just smaller things.
mhm,
I don't think anybody's really looking for like, the holy grail of information for Patreon. I think in
right,
retrospect, it could be how much money you call in is the initial bet where it's like, okay, well, if maybe $5 gets you a lot per month versus like giving $1 or I don't know, just food for thought. I would be into it. Same
that's
with
definitely interesting.
courses, it's like that would be a way to maybe even get them edited, kind of like go through is like, I'm gonna release them on the Patreon. And then like if somebody just like, hey, this looks weird or whatever, it's like,
Right,
thank you. And then, then you go through and release it. I know that's like what Noel did with his book. He sent it to a bunch of people that,
right.
he trusted. I got it. And I was like, there's, typo here or whatever. And, it was just like a free way to get it edited, I think.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be into it, man. I don't think you're alone on that sense though, where it's like you are a sideman and you've done well as that. And I think a lot of people, and aren't have no plans of changing, becoming a sideman. And it's like a lot of people probably aren't like you, or they're gonna take this time to learn how to sing, you know. And
Right.
they're gonna be like, well, shit. Now I need to figure out how I can collab, how I can market myself, and I think those things too. It's that's been one thing that I think would be very interesting for a lot of music students, and not to fall victim to the clickbaity titles, but I think those are kind of important. So like you have a good title and like a good thumbnail, like those things go so far.
Totally.
And so I don't know. I'm just thinking like how to make it as a musician outside of music school, especially as like a jazz guitar player. And going back to what we were talking about before,
Yeah. I've
dude,
actually,
none of
I
that helped me. I didn't.
Yeah, I've actually thought I've definitely have like I've been writing down ideas for future videos, and one of them is definitely like what I didn't learn in college
Yeah,
sort of video.
that would
Yeah,
be a sick video. I mean, I feel like again, it's kind of clickbaity, but it's like actually there's a lot of truth to that. It's like,
totally. Yeah,
dude, I didn't learn that I needed to play country tunes, in jazz school. I didn't know that I needed to be able, sure, I remember doing some transposing, but I never remember being anyone be like, learn this tune, and then you show up to the gig and be like, all right, now we're gonna play it in D flat, and it's like, shit, I didn't learn it that well, you know.
yeah, yeah, totally.
And it's because there's a singer, and talk about playing with singers. It's like I rarely did that. It was like play this fusion or whatever, read
Right,
the chart.
totally.
It's like at the time when I was even two, it was like two singers, so it was this kind of situational thing, but
Yeah,
there wasn't a lot of singers, and then I had to start. That was one of the first things I did whenever I moved here because I got that huge ass gig. So I started to sing, and then I split it in half with this other chick, and I was like playing her tunes, and I was like, oh man, I gotta just sit here. I can't play my bullshit. I can't in
right.
every chord, and I can't like throw licks in here where they don't belong because I'll
Yeah,
ruin the song. It's like that's really dumb shit that you don't learn in school, but it's like, or like
right.
how to book a gig, or like when you're doing a lesson, don't like charge $10. Whatever it is, for a
Yeah,
gig. Everybody should try to get $100. Like you don't learn that until you're on the streets.
right.
And
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
silly shit, but things that really make a difference in paying your rent. And
Yeah,
when you're just playing standards in your bedroom all day because so and so says you got to learn 26-2 and play it tomorrow for your improv class, it's like, okay, sure, but like, how does that actually help you?
yeah.
I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of things you could have to offer, and whether it's through Patreon or whatever, I think you would do really well,
Hmm.
personally.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for the ideas. I feel like yes, yeah, definitely. I hadn't thought about doing the Patreon so soon, and that I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't. That I just assumed that like people would be like, "Who do you think you are?" But I guess you're right. I mean, like
You're kind of
people.
Mr. Big Stuff, though, in terms of
I,
that.
I guess in certain circles, that is actually kind of true, which is weird. But yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
and it's, dude. Again, I mean, it's fucking sick that you're this humble, in my opinion, where you like are like doubting yourself. You're like, I don't know, but like, dude, you have like literal Grammys, and you like play for one of the best bands ever, and it's like people in general. I feel like there's kind of like this thing, I mean, myself included, but it's like I've met you in real life. I've been fortunate enough to hang out with Mark like 20 times or some shit. But we're from a similar circle. We have mutual friends. But like I don't want to say the kid's name, but like in general, he was kind of talking like he knew you guys, and it was just like, oh well, I used to work at the same grocery store as Bob, you know, and okay, but like it wasn't even at the same time. You never met him. But it's like there's like this like if you could like claim that you guys, there's like this kind of like coolness or something, and I don't really see it like that, but I maybe I'm just arrogant or ignorant, and in that sense where it's like I'm fortunate that I actually have met you guys and have some sort of connection, I guess. But like in
Yeah,
other people I see where they're like they just put you on this pedestal, and you guys should be on a pedestal. I feel like none of you in Snarky Puppy get enough credit as to like what you guys actually do and how hard it is. But like, dude, it's like there's so many people that are like just like, oh my god, Chris McQueen liked my Instagram or or something. I don't know.
that's
And,
amazing.
yeah, it really does exist. And you know, somebody I had on the podcast, that's a real scenario where he was saying he worked at the same grocery store as Bob, and then he like you could tell he was like, you know, I have this connection, and I was like, well. But in that case, where it's like I subscribe to Chris McQueen's Patreon, that's like, holy shit, you're fucking receiving the shit every day or once a week or whatever it is. That's like
Right.
a true way to support you and like be in your circle rather than just like I worked at the same grocery store spot.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool idea. And I mean, I like the idea of like having like a little tidbit to offer about guitar, like like you said, like just using this compressor on this, like that's interesting stuff that you kind of don't realize that people find interesting.
Sure, dude. I mean, especially right now. I was talking to Shy Maestro about this, and he's like, you know, he's spending all of his time recording right now, and it's like everyone, and myself included, is spending a lot more time on the computer right now. And
Definitely.
whether it's just like, here's how to not make your micro or your guitar sound like shit when you're recording it.
Right.
That's
Totally.
such a simple thing, but oh well, here's the EQ that I use. Here's if you use compression, or maybe I have this delay or this pedal or whatever, that's like my sound, and I just turn it on and I feel like I'm good to go. And dude, so many people would take some sanity in that, because I know for me, it's like, man, I spend hours just trying to find a good guitar sound. And my other thing I could think of is, like, I watched this Corey Wong video of him talking about how he records his shit, and it was just like, oh, you mean he uses a bass cab on his Logic whatever, an amp simulator, and then he just uses like compression at 50%. You plug in his Stratocaster, it's like there, and you're like, oh shit, of course. So it's kind of just like learning how to get that sound, I guess. But in general, the recording thing is like, more than whatever. And I mean, talk about the number of hats you have to wear as a musician. Mixing and mastering, that's
Right.
fucking hard shit, dude. Like,
Right.
I mean, I was super fortunate to where I went to North Texas. Before I went to North Texas, I went to audio engineering school because I thought that's what I wanted to do first.
hmm
Turns out I wanted to be a player, and I like to play the guitar more than I like to record. But now I'm fucking so glad I went to audio engineering school, because it's like, I would have gone crazy by now had I not been able to sit at the computer and record myself, blow a couple of days away just recording songs.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, if there weren't like presets on like Logic's compressor, I feel like I'd be like I'll move the knobs and for a while, and then usually it ends up sounding really crazy, and you're like, is this good? I have no idea, because that
yeah,
stuff is so complicated.
sure, sure. I mean, and I feel like everyone, especially right now, needs a little direction on the mixing and the mastering and whatever. And even though you're not, I don't know, whoever, Quincy Jones or some shit in the studio, you still have a lot of experience, and but more than most. I'll put it like that. But it's like, dude, mixing and mastering, that shit is not easy. People go to
Yeah,
school for it.
no, definitely. Yeah, yeah,
So, I
yeah.
mean, 5 minutes on, here's the plugins I use to just put out a song at normal volume so people think it's mastered, or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, that would be an interesting thing. I think there's a lot of shit that people can offer right now, and it's pretty crazy. I probably gotta get going soon. I'm supposed to talk to Peter Bernstein. Can you believe that shit?
Oh, hell yeah. That's
Yeah, I was like,
awesome.
I just wouldn't. It's so crazy. Like, again, like, thank you. Seriously. I mean, I'm so floored. You're such a nice guy. I thought about this morning. The first time I met you was at that Snarky Puppy movie premiere, and I
In
just
that,
randomly sat down, and then you ended up sitting next to me, and then I remember introducing myself, and I shook your hand, and I remember being like, God damn, this dude has the hands of a man. I don't remember
well,
why I felt that.
it's funny. Everyone always thinks that they're like, oh yeah, guitar player hands. I have like a skin condition basically. I have like really old man hands, and if you see
Oh,
like
yeah.
any video that you zoom in on, you're like, whose hands are those? It looks like a 90-year-old's,
Yeah, I was like,
but that's my
damn,
weird hand.
this dude's got fucking hands of a man. And then I asked you for the lesson, and then you were like, yeah, I'll see you at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, that was the one where I had to run up and because the video fucked up and I had to
Hell
I
yeah.
had to
Yeah.
fill the time. That was like one of the most intimidating like public speaking moments of my life. Like I don't know how to do this. I'm not an MC.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Kind
there's
of
some
fun though.
that everyone was patient with it. It was cool. I mean,
Totally.
it
Yeah.
was it was cool just to hang in general. Everyone in that room was like stoked to be there, so it wasn't a big deal. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it worked. It ended up working. So
Yeah. Thank
yeah.
God. That would have been
True.
disappointing.
But dude, I mean, in general, I think that just goes to show how cool you are. So it's like, yeah, I'll see you 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's like, oh fuck, okay, I'm ready. And I'll still, never forget that lesson. And it's like, to me, you really cleared it up for me. Where I was just like, I need to fucking keep time and realize what 16th notes are, and like calibrate them and like feel them, and realize what it feels like to play on the fifth, the fourth 16th note of five or something, and like feel something really specific that's not necessarily just like one, two, because that's totally changes your subdivisions in your own head. And then I remember before you came in the room, I was trying to sight read one of your tunes, and I was probably doing pretty bad. And like we ended up playing it at the end of the lesson, and I remember being like, "Damn, that was fucking hard" or something, and you were like, "Why would you write instrumental music if it's not really hard?" And that was like, it just really changed my perspective, and I
A
was
weird thing
like,
to
"Oh
say.
shit." You know, well, that's it's kind of true though. Like, if you're gonna be going up, especially when you're playing a goddamn UNT guitar departmental, you probably want to play some really hard shit. You don't just play C and G, although that is like an entirely different thing.
Right, right.
But it was cool. I really respected it, dude. And in general, I just been so amazed at how willing people are to share their information right now. I'm just like, it's cool to hang, cool to chat.
Yeah, good to hang and chat with you too.
Dude, I hope everything's good at the crib. It looks like you got all the tools you need.
Yeah,
That's
I got lots of things back there. We're obviously thinking about painting that wall, so finding the
I like
right color,
I
you
like
know.
I like the one right above the tripod, that kind of like bluish green one, or the really blue one on the far little left. My left, probably your right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been looking at colors for so long that now my brain is pretty much broken, so I don't even know which one I like now. But
Yeah,
it's like they could all work. Just
sure.
pick one, and go with it.
My as someone who's had a blue room before, I liked it a lot, but it was kind of interesting. You look like you have a lot of light. That was my biggest complaint. Where it was like maybe go with the greener or the grayer.
Yeah, so I'm thinking just that one wall so that it doesn't overwhelm
Okay,
and
well, in that
yeah.
case, I go with the blue.
Oh yeah, okay. Because
If it's
we were thinking
accent,
more
you know.
neutral to try to like just make it gray, like a dark gray. But I don't know. The blue could be cool. So
If
mm,
it's just one wall, that would be my argument. If you're going to paint every wall, I would make it a little bit more neutral because it gets a little overwhelming and kind of confining. But if you're doing one wall, then it's like you might as well go all out.
see a
You know?
pop. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'll
but hell
well,
yeah.
you'll have to check back in and see what it ends up being.
Yeah, sure, man. Well, let me know if there's any way I can help it. And in the meantime, if you don't mind, just like sending me your Venmo and like if you want to put your fork music or whatever website or something, just something to click on for in the
Cool.
YouTube description or Facebook or whatever. And yeah, dude, hopefully I'll get this out soon. I'm probably sitting on like 20 of these fucking episodes. And I really
Oh,
need
awesome. What do you mean the Venmo? For what? For people to
trying to
donate?
get people to donate. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Just
awesome.
like,
Great.
just read it. It's like you actually give enough of a shit to support them,
Yeah.
check it out. Because, dude, we talked about some good shit. I think there's some info in here where, people could learn about some stuff. It's like, oh, well, maybe I need to go and get my own Patreon. Maybe I need to, you know,
Right.
whatever. It's like this is some valuable information, and in general, I think people are stoked to hear from their heroes from this time. So it's like, what is so and so doing? How are they handling this shit, and how
Yeah.
can I be bettering my shit? So I think there's some good info, and
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you doing that.
always, man. Well, thanks for taking the time, and I'm about to go get burned by the Bernstein. I
All
got,
right, and have fun.
dude.
Success.
Yeah, for sure. Peace out, brother. Thank you so
All right.
much.